Good morning.
Good morning.
I continue to talk on this text, opening the handles. Today I'd like to start, if you have this text, page 131. We start the new section. The title of this section is The Direction of the Universe. The Direction of the Universe. And let me read two paragraphs. The reality of life that Zazen wakes us up to is actually a life attitude of working and working and living out a self. That is only self. And now, that is only now. It is an attitude of facing whatever is before us, regardless of what might befall us. What a vast, boundless life unfolds before us. Ordinarily, we spend all our time comparing and discriminating between this and that, always looking around for something good to happen to us. Because of that, we become restless and anxious about everything. As long as we are able to imagine something better than what we have or what we are, it follows naturally that there could also be something worse. We are constantly pursued by anxious misgivings that something bad will happen. As long as we base as long as we base our lives on distinguishing between the better way and the worse way, we can never find absolute peace, such that whatever happened is all right. The title of this section is, as I said, The Direction of the Universe. Direction is a translation of Japanese word haku. And the universal is not a literal translation, but the original word Uchiyama used is Jin Issai. So what he really writes is the direction of Jin Issai. Jin is entire or total or whole, and Issai means all, everything. So Jin Issai means this entire universe, including human world, is really include everything, and we are part of it. Part of it means we and this everything in this network of interdependent origination is interconnected. There's no such separation, or there's no such individual being, existence, that can exist without relation with others. So in a sense, we are together with all beings. That is what Jin Issai means. And Uchiyama that is came from Dogen, he said Jin, he used the expression Jin Issai Jiko. Jiko is self. So self and all other beings within this network, Indra's net, is one thing. So this is like an ocean that includes everything. So usually we don't think there is a direction to go. You know, rivers have direction. Rivers flow from higher place like mountains and go down and finally go into the ocean. But ocean has no direction. If we are one together with all beings, then there's no direction. That means wherever we are, that is within this network. So we don't need to, or we cannot escape from where we are. Wherever we go, that is a place within this, together with all beings. So, so this direction and Jin Issai or Jin Issai Jiko, the person, the one together with all beings, is a kind of contradicted as a concept. But Uchiyama is discussing we are together with all beings, and yet we have direction. Well, we must have direction. That is the point of this section. And in the larger context of this book, what Uchiyama is discussing for several sections or chapters is the significance or meaning of our Zazen practice in the context of modern civilization. And he always talks about Zazen, the meaning of Zazen. What we practice is Zazen, and that came from Dogen. Zazen is the center of our practice. And here, what Uchiyama, when I summarize Uchiyama's teaching, is the expression he used, that is ichi, za, ni, gyo, and san, shin. Za is sitting. He always one sitting. And ni, gyo means practice. So two practices, so it's plural, two practices. And sanshin is three minds. And that is the name of this temple, three minds. That means sitting is the center of our practice. And our practice of Zazen is all should be together with two practices. Two practices refers to taking bodhisattva vows, practice of vow, taking vows, and repentance. So our practice of Zazen is based on Mahayana Buddhist teachings of bodhisattva vow. As a bodhisattva vow, we all receive the bodhisattva precept and take bodhisattva vows as a Mahayana Buddhist. So Mahayana Buddhists are bodhisattvas. And bodhisattvas means a person who live by vow. And these vows are the four vows we are going to chant after this talk. The first one is beings are numberless, we vow to free or save them. And I forget. Maybe the first one is good enough. If I start to talk on those four, it takes more than 1 hour. Anyway, those vows is our direction as a bodhisattvas. That is being free from all all beings are numberless. We vow to free them means we go together with all beings towards the Buddha way. Buddha's way means Buddha's awakening, and that is nirvana. So that is our vows. All bodhisattvas take that vows, those 4 vows. And those 4 vows is endless vows. There's no way we can accomplish, we can complete. So we are always incomplete. Something is lacking or not enough. So when we see the incompleteness of our effort, our practice, then we make repentance. So repentance in this case, in Mahayana Buddhism, is not something negative. It's not simply saying, I'm sorry, I made such and such mistakes, I try not to do it again. But this repentance is, I think, in a sense, awakening, awareness of how we are, how incomplete we are. So we have to make more effort. So repentance gives us more kind of energy to take another step, or to return to the right track, right direction. And now in this section or chapter, Uchiyama is discussing is to practice as a bodhisattva, we need 3 minds. And 3 minds, the first of 3 minds is magnanimous mind, or in Japanese, Daishin. Dai means big or large, and I translate this as magnanimous, big mind. Big mind means the mind without making this distinctions or discriminations. Those 3 minds are originally mentioned by Dogen in instruction for tenzo or cook in a monastery. And Dogen said about this big mind or magnanimous mind. This mind is like big mountains or great ocean. Big mountain doesn't move, it's not shaky. And big mountains allow living beings, many plants and animals, whether they are big or small, allow them be there and live together. So offer the place for living beings, and it doesn't move. And the mind of great ocean is, ocean accept all the water coming from any rivers without making discrimination. And once the water from different rivers get into the ocean, there's no discrimination. And Buddhist Sangha from the time of Shakyamuni was called Great Ocean Assembly. That means Buddha allowed any people from any background, any status or classes, social classes, allowed to become a member of Sangha. And there's no discrimination within the Sangha as Buddhist practitioners. So that is the mind big mind or magnanimous mind. And that is what Dogen discussed right before this section. I mean, Uchiyama Roshi discussed right before this section. So our Zazen practice is a practice of magnanimous mind. By, when we sit and letting go of thought, we let go of our discriminative mind, or mind which makes value judgment. That is, so our Zazen is basically the practice of magnanimous mind which doesn't make discrimination. So our Zazen allows us to wake up this self that is together with all beings without discrimination. That is what he said in the previous section. And now he is going to talk about two other minds. Second mind is called Ro Shin in Japanese. And the third is Kishin. Ro literally means old. Or it can be matured. And about Ro Shin, Dogen said this mind is a mind of parents. Parents take care of children. So this matured mind is a mind to take care of others. When we are childish, we always expect that we are taken care of. If people or parents don't take care of me well, I just scream, cry, or complain. But parents can take care of the children as their own life. It's not how can I say it? It's not like a contract, but somehow the children is the part of our life for parents. That is what Ro Shin refer to, and third is Kishin. Ki is joy or joyful mind. That is, the mind which find a joy within taking care of others. Joyful mind is kind of interesting. When our situation is really joyful, everything goes well, we don't need joyful mind because we can be joyful naturally. But we need joyful mind when our life is not so joyful to make the situation better. We need some kind of joyful mind. We need to know what makes us joyful within difficult situation. When our life is really everything goes well, then we don't need joyful mind because our life is itself joyful. We don't need to make effort to find a joyful mind. But in the Tenzo Kyokun, Tenzo, in this case, Tenzo is a cook in a monastery. Often, or for many people, to become a monk and lived in a monastery is not for cooking, usually. They want to study Dharma and practice meditation. but cooking is a kind of supporting other people's studying and practice. So often we think cooking is not important, but studying Dharma or practice meditation in the Zendo is more important things. But that kind of discrimination, value judgment, is a problem for Dogen. So Dogen said, not only monks sitting in the Zendo or studying in like a library, but people working in the kitchen has the same value. That is very first thing Dogen said in the writing of introduction for the cook. So Dogen said not only the cook or tenzo, but also the abbot and teachers and directors, everyone in the community needs to have those three minds. The mind that doesn't make discrimination, but accept all people and work as one. So, as a parental mind, they offer something to the community to allow other people study and practice and work without problems, without troubles. And all community members need to find a joy within that activities. So this is Dogen's, how can I say, principle that all community members in a monastery need to have those three attitudes. And Uchiyama thinks this is really important. So he always, as a kind of a conclusion of how we should practice or live as a member of the Sangha or the society, his conclusion was always to live together with all these three minds. That is why when I established this community, I made Sanshin as the name of this community. Usually, the name of the temple or Zen center is based on the location, like San Francisco Zen Center or other Zen centers. But when we established Sanshin Zen community, we didn't have a location. So we didn't know where the Sanshinji will be. So we cannot use the name of the place. That's why I used this as so what Sanshin Zen community means. This is a community where people study Dharma, Buddha's teaching, and practice Zazen, and take Bodhisattva vow and make repentance, and live together with other beings with three minds. That is the very basis of my idea of Sanshin Zen community. Anyway, so what Uchiyama is saying here, that direction of the universal include everything, so there is no such direction. But Uchiyama said we need direction as a bodhisattva, and that is for bodhisattva vows. So this is a kind of contradiction, but this contradiction is important. I mean, this is a kind of image that there is a river that has a direction within the ocean. So Bodhisattva is like a river within the ocean. Ocean includes everything and whatever is okay. And yet we need to have a direction toward the Buddha way. So that is the point of this section he's talking about. So he's going to talk about parental mind or nurturing mind and joyful mind, rest of this section. So let me read the first paragraph I already read. This is about the magnanimous mind or our Zazen practice without discrimination. The reality of life that Zazen wakes us up is actually a life attitude of working and living out a self that is only self, a now that is only now. It is an attitude of facing whatever is before us, regardless of what might befall us. So we accept everything like an ocean accept all the waters. I think you are already familiar with this expression of Uchiyama Roshi, a self that is only self, and a now that is only now, and probably here that is only here. This here, now, and this self. Only here, only now, only this being. That is basically our practice. That means in Dogen's and Uchiyama Roshi's teaching, our practice is just being this person, these five skandhas, and wherever we are, that place, and this moment, only this moment. This moment is absolute moment. Past has already gone, and future has not yet come. So these are not reality. Only reality is here and now. And only life we can live is life with these five skandhas. I cannot live for you, and you cannot live for me. So I have to live myself. And yet this self that is only self, and present moment that is only present moment, and this place, only this place, in our kind of common sense, that is, I always draw, this is the time. Time flows from past to the future through the present. And when we say here and now with this person, only means within this the flow of time, we are staying one point and at a certain place with this person's body and mind. So this is one of the, time, one part of this flows of time, and one part of the space here. Now we are in this Zendo in Sanshinji, and this person named Shohaku, who is 70-year-old, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, 71. 71 old Buddhist priest. I cannot live, I cannot work only with these 5 skandhas. I couldn't do what I could do when I was 20. So if I think that is me, this is not me, then I feel, this 5 skandhas is not real thing. My real Shohaku is when I was 20 or 40 or 50. I could do much more things. But as a reality, this body and mind that is 71 years old, and that has some limitations, but I still have some possibility to do things. That condition of my 5 skandhas is only life I can live at this moment. So this is part of time and part of space and part of my kind of history as a condition. But when we study especially Dogen's teachings, we can see the different way to view this here, now, and the self. That is, as for the time, Dogen always said, past has already gone, future has not yet come, so these are not reality. Only this present moment is reality. And as I always said, this present moment has no length. If there is even a slightest length, we can still cut into two, cut into half, and this side is already past, and another side already is still future. So actually, now has no length. When I say now, U is still in the future. When I say U, now is already in the past. So there's no such a present moment. That means present moment that is only reality is zero. And the space is the same. No matter how small we say here, now we are in this zendo. This is not a big zendo, it's really small, but still I can, I'm sitting here and facing you, and you are sitting there and facing me. So still here and there. So if there is the slightest, what we call extension, then we can say cut into two, and here and there. So actually here is like a kind of a definition of dot in mathematics. It has only position, no extension. So here is also zero. And the self is also zero. I mean, there's no such entity called Shohaku. But this is simply a collection of all different things. That is what interdependent origination means. So when we take a very close look at it, here, now, and the self becomes zero. It disappeared. And when it becomes zero, we find, or maybe we cannot say we find, because there's no such we. But this entire space and the entire time is the self. That is what Uchiyama called universal self, or Jin Issai Jiko, the self that is together with all beings within this entire network. So this entire network is here, is now, is me, or myself. So there are kind of, Dogen doesn't say which is true and the other two are false. But this is most common way of thinking about our life. Time flows from past to the future, and we are staying in one place within this entire space. And I am one of the millions of people. That is our common way of thinking, and I think most of us agree with that way of thinking. So I say I'm a Japanese Buddhist monk, one priest named Shohaku, and I live here and do such and such. And that is a common way of thinking about our life. But Dogen said that is not only possible way to view this reality. From another perspective, there's no such here, there's no such now, there's no such self. Then we can see this entirety of time, time and space is me, and all beings within this time and space is me. That is what Jin Issai Jiko means. And what Uchiyama is saying is when we sit and really focus on here and now and this self, here, now, and this self disappeared. And when we disappeared, because there's no such individual beings, then we see this being and all other things within space and time are one thing. We are part of this entire kind of movement. That is what Jin Issai Jiko means. So that is what Uchiyama is saying in this paragraph. Our Zazen practice allows us to wake up. We are together with all beings, always together with all beings as one, because there's no such self. There's no such time called now, and there's no such place called here. That is kind of a, how can I say, when we concentrate here, now, and self, here and now and self disappeared, then we find we are really connected with everything. Everything comes into my body and become part of my body, and sooner or later it goes out. There's nothing called Shohaku. And my way of thinking is the same thing. And yet, as here, now, and the self, what I can do is limited. I have been studying Buddha Dharma and practice Zazen. That is the only thing I can do. And talking about Buddhist teaching and Zazen practice is the only thing I can do. And I hope it's meaningful to others. But actually there's no such me and such things called Buddhism. Or there's no such things called Sanshinji. Without connection or relation with other part of the world. That is how we learn or we study when we practice Zazen, and what Zazen practice means. We are together with all beings. And in the next paragraph, Uchiyama said opposite. That is, he said, what a vast, boundless life unfolds before us. So when we awake to this reality, we feel like what I'm thinking, this is my problem. It's not a problem. It's not my problem. And there's nowhere we should go. We can just be here. So it's a really freedom. But as a karmic self, I have certain fixed picture of the world and system of value, and I think I have to do this way or that way. That is kind of, according to Dogen, that is binding with like a rope, and which Dogen said, binding without rope, binding ourselves without rope, even though nothing is bound us, and yet we feel I can do only this way, or I can do only this thing. But our Zazen practice allows us to be free from that kind of self-image or limitation we make by ourselves from our past experiences. That is karma. And ordinarily, that is how we ordinarily live. So he said, ordinarily, we spend all our time comparing and discriminating between this and that, always looking around for something good to happen to us. Because of that, we become restless and anxious about everything. So we think there's something desirable and something not desirable, then it's natural I want to be there, or I want to go there, or I want to get it, and I want to stay away from something we don't want, or we don't like, or we don't value, but somehow they come. So I try to escape. So our life become, as I always said, our life become like a chasing after things and escaping from other things. And our life become running after something or escaping from something. And in Buddhism that is called samsara. So this is the way we live within samsara. Something desirable and something not desirable. So we want to go there, and yet we cannot reach, too often. So our life becomes very frustrated. So we cannot find a peace. That is the life in samsara. So we are always restless and anxious about everything. As long as we are able to imagine something better than what we have or what we are, it follows naturally that there could also be something worse. So there's something we want, there's something we don't want. So our life becomes two parts, good and bad, positive and negative. And we always want to be this side, not that side. We are constantly pursued by anxious misgivings that something bad will happen. So we always have fear or uncertainty. So we always worry about what next, and what is the best thing to do to reach that goal. As long as we base our lives on distinguishing between the better way and the worse way, we can never find absolute peace, such that whatever happens is all right. So there's no way to accept, here and now and these 5 skandhas as they are. But we always want to get something we think better, and something we want to escape from, something we don't think it's important. So our life is always, how can I say, shaky. So there's no way to find absolute peace. And this absolute peace is everything is okay. And that is absolute peace here means refer to nirvana. And the way Uchiyama mentioned is samsara. So what Uchiyama is saying is the way most modern people living is, typical way of life in samsara. They cannot find absolute peace. So how can we find nirvana? That is a problem. Our idea naturally come, I don't like samsara. I want to reach nirvana. How can I go there? Then Buddhists teach, if you practice such and such, like Eightfold Noble Path, then we can escape from samsara and reach nirvana. And we think that is desirable. And on that basis, we start to practice. So there is a basic contradiction in Buddhist teachings. So what is, I think, the starting point of Mahayana Buddhism? How can we live both sides? How can we integrate, our ability to think and to make evaluation and make judgment, and which is good, which is not good, which is healthy or not healthy. And we accept everything. That is the absolute peace. How can we, these two sides, that is, as I said, like an ocean and river. How can we, these two kind of opposite thing may happen? I think is a very kind of a ground on which all Buddhist, Mahayana Buddhist teachers are thinking. And so, in the very beginning of the history of Mahayana Buddhism, such as Nagarjuna said, samsara and nirvana are one. How can such a thing possible? So, how can we use our ability to make discrimination, distinction, and making choice, and accepting everything can be together? And in the Buddhist history, our common idea is, this between samsara and nirvana, there is a big river, and we have to cross this river to escape from samsara and reach nirvana. But Mahayana Buddhists such as Nagarjuna found this is a fiction. So how can we find nirvana within samsara? This is a kind of an idea, two different things, and how can we move from here to there? But probably what Mahayana Buddhists found is after Shakyamuni attained enlightenment, he didn't disappear. He lived together with all beings, but he was in nirvana. and yet he didn't escape from samsara. If it was possible for Shakyamuni, why it not possible for us? So how can we live without this, in a sense, without this discrimination? That is a problem. It's such a way of life to stay in nirvana, that is, everything is okay, and to not escape, not leaving from samsara. Something is good, something is bad. So we have to always make a choice. And if we make a right choice, then our life might be successful. Otherwise, our life becomes failure. How these two can be one is really interesting problem. And I think each Mahayana Buddhist teachers or masters try to find the way. How can we live, find nirvana within samsara? How can we live together with all beings without making this discrimination? So I think there's no fixed answer, but I think what we can do is trying to be free from either. And at least in our practice, in Dogen's tradition, sitting in the zendo, that is called zazen, and just sitting, is the way we are free from any discrimination by letting go of thought. So in our zazen, or when we are in the zendo, we don't need to think what is good, what is bad. We just be 100% being here and now. But once we stand up and go out, we have to think. And we have to find what is good, what is bad, what is healthy or not healthy, what is for the benefit of more people. How can we help people even that is small, and how can we harmful to ourselves and to others. So we have to think. So in our tradition, this is two separate things, but this is like more like one thing, and from one side, this is how we have to think. And from another side, this entirety is okay just as it is. Everything is okay just as it is, and within this, everything is okay just as it is. We have to make choice. How can we live healthy way, and how can we live without harming others and harming ourselves? And Uchiyama Roshi called that means our life force include both, has both. And he said, for example, a plant always grow toward the sunlight, so it has direction. And yet, that having that direction is not a discrimination, but Uchiyama said, called that is life force. Healthy life force allow us to go this way is right thing, but go that way might not so good. And yet, just going toward the sun doesn't allow a plant to grow, but the root should go down to the ground and get the nutrition from the ground. So there are always two sides. I think that is one of the way, at least Uchiyama Roshi's effort, how can we integrate the two sides of our life into one. And that is what he's going to discuss in this section. But it's already 11:10. I'm sorry. I always forget about time.
There is no time. There is no...
Thank you. Okay, any question or comment, please?
I have a short story that I think exemplifies the samsara nirvana not to. It was a very short conversation with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We were standing over there and something had just finished. I turned to you and I said, "How are you?" And you said, "Fine, with problems."
Thank you.
That really stuck with me. Oh, okay, and then I wanted to tell a little bit longer story about another version of this, because yesterday I was very active around the house and I was vacuuming and cleaning, and my wife was sitting on the couch reading. And I didn't realize, there was some realization that I was feeling resentment and anger. Yeah. But it wasn't until this morning, hearing you say that it had to, what comes up for me is the courage to accept things the way they are. And there was for a moment compassion for myself, because the resentment and anger, uncomfortable, unpleasant, painful emotions, and also not claiming them as mine because I couldn't accept them, because my ego, my preferred self-image does not include resentment and anger. And yet, reality is, there they are.
Yes.
And to be free of claiming them as mine, and now I'm bad because I have these emotions, all of that is just, it disappears with practice. That doesn't mean that the resentment and anger disappearing, but the resistance to it, and the claiming that this can't be true, and yet there it is when that is gone, it's so much easier now to... there was one other important piece about this resentment and anger that was not really fully accepted, and that is that it got in the way of my relationship with my wife. I couldn't be friendly with her because of because of all of this that I'm talking about. So now, having done practice and having heard your explanation and Uchiyama Roshi's writing, I'm free of so much of my suffering around that. And I will go back to my wife and apologize for not being connected and explain because... Explain. So, there's my story.
Suzuki Roshi said, we are already perfect, and yet we have to make effort to make it better. That is the same idea, I think. Please?
I just read yesterday that in one Zen monastery in Japan, they have put a robot.
Robot?
Yes.
Yeah,
In a
android,
monastery?
like it's Buddha explained Buddhist teachings to bring more people in. So I was like, maybe this is perfect. There is no lower self, there is no higher self. You don't worry about, taking care of the vessel that gives us all this planning, analyzing problems, or, vacuuming, higher self. So it's perhaps, I don't know, it's also void of joy, but maybe there is no need. So anyways, I made a connection with the android. So
we don't need human beings.
Robots
That's interesting.
sitting in Zen. Wow.
A robot can sit forever without moving.
It seems to me that, not knowing about the robot, but anyway, that's still an idea. The description is still an idea. Basically, it's still some more ideas that balance, to hopefully balance themselves. I think the advantage, but the draw of Zazen, or something like Zazen, is we can basically taste, and we get a taste that's possible. Even if it's only possible on the cushion, it somehow confirms that so that it's not simply another idea or good idea, wonderful, blah blah blah. But this is actually almost, it moves from an idea to what you want to say. You said another view, you didn't say vision, I forget, perspective, or one could say feeling. This is kind of how. So then it's more than, at least for me, for us. So the conviction is there that it's more than its reality, and it's a place to see it, where otherwise I could never see it. It's taste it, so that's. But then it becomes other than ideas. It's feeling, or I don't know, some other word.
Experience.
So it's got a convincing aspect to it, and so it makes all the rest of it possible for me. I know that's possible. I'll never get there, but I know. And so, and then read the great teachers and say, well, try this, and blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I'll do that.
Oh, thank you. Okay, anything else?
I have a language question. I am wondering if Jin, J-I-N, the everything, and the G, self, are they from the same root, or they are separate?
Oh, G in Jiko, like.
Jin, like you were telling about, like, in the universe, entirety.
Jin Isai, the Jin and Jin Isai.
Oh, Jin.
Yeah.
Jin.
And then the self, G, are they from the... Jiko?
Jiga.
Yeah, I don't know in Japanese.
Jin and Ji are different words.
But are they related in terms of, are they from the same root? I'm just curious.
No. As a word, no. But Uchiyama Dogen Zenji combine, Jin means entirety, and self is the same thing. But as a word, these are two different things.
Okay. It seems like a nice connection, like self and entirety. And then they sound very similar. So.
Yeah, sound similar. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it.
Do you want to bow to your seat and bow to us?
I'm sorry.
It's been a while. Just a few announcements. Of course, with today, we're back into our regular, normal practice around here. Regular morning and evening practice, Monday through Wednesday. Practice committee meeting tomorrow evening. Sesshin starts Thursday, so there'll be no zazen Thursday morning. And it lasts through Sunday, so sesshin starts Thursday, lasts through Sunday. The public is welcome to come join in from 7 to 11 on Sunday. So if you typically show up on Sunday and want to keep your practice going on, it's a good time to come. Coming up, Women's Retreat with Shodo Spring, that's October 11 through 13. Sanshin's Women Retreat is designed to appeal to both beginners in Zen practice and those with some experience. The retreat includes instruction in sitting, zazen, and walking, kinhin practice if needed. Periods of zazen and kinhin, brief dharma talks, Q&A and discussion, vegetarian meals, and body practice designed to support Zen practice. It provides a variety of resources that participants can take in and use in establishing and maintaining their practice. And did I say it was just for women? So,
Yes.
just to be clear about that one. Bodhisattva Conversations with Reverend Dennis McCarty. This is October 19th from 1 to 5 p.m. All people go through times of grief, loss, and stress. Supporting friends and loved ones in such times is sacred work. With a few basic techniques, do's and don'ts, any of us can be a bodhisattva presence for someone we care about. We will learn helpful bodhisattva pastoral care techniques in a relaxed, intimate setting. More information about upcoming practice and events is on our website. Are there other announcements?
Bika today at 4 o'clock. Yes, we will do Bika today at 4 o'clock.
So there's no Wednesday study group?
No
Wednesday study group?
Yes, we have
Before the session?
before session, but we don't have after session.
Okay.
So, yeah, regular practice for the first half of this week.
There's tea following this. I think that's it. Are there anybody come up with an announcement?
No? You want to talk about donations?
Yes. This temple would not be here, but for much and many different kinds of generosity. So please give as you can. Thank you.
And we'll reset for tea. Press the button.
Okay.
This temple would not, press the button, this temple would not be here without me. Full stream.
Yep. Very good.
Okay, so if a couple of people who aren't changing clothes would help with tea, that would be great. Most things are ready to go out here. Order over tea bags and we'll get this show on the road.
What about the Zabuton?
Okay.